Sure, one last kick. This is gonna be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal! Kvaratskhelia is through, wants to add a fourth, and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and battered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.
A very good evening. Welcome to the first of three huge European finals this season on LFS, and it is the 2026 Europa League Final from Istanbul as SC Freiburg of Germany take on England's Aston Villa in this season's showpiece event. But who will lift this illustrious trophy? Well, Unai Emery has major history at winning this competition, the most of any manager in the competition's history. But history beckons when it comes to Freiburg, who are in their first ever European final, and they want to make it 1 out of 1. But Aston Villa have history in their side as well, because they've won a European trophy in previous years. Let's have a look to the road to Istanbul for these two clubs. It really started in the league phase, of course, all the way back in the early part of the season. And of course, in the end, both progressing directly to the round of 16. Aston Villa passed Lille in the round of 16. Freiburg beat Genk. When it came to the quarterfinals, Freiburg won both of their quarterfinal games against Celta Vigo, 3-0 at home and 3-1 away in the return leg. For Aston Villa, they also won both of their quarter-final games, 3-1 against Bologna and then 4-0 in the return leg in that one. And it was a bit tighter in the semi-finals. Both sides lost their first legs of their semi-finals. Freiburg 2-1 to Sporting Braga, and Aston Villa lost 1-0 to Nottingham Forest, but both returned home and returned with a victory. 3-1 win for Freiburg and a 4-0 Aston Villa thumping of Nottingham Forest sent these two sides to the famous Istanbul. A quick look at the two teams. Well, of course, Freiburg, it's their first ever European final, only previously reached as far as the round of 16 in this competition. That was last season. But they've never won a major trophy in the club's 122-year history. Could this night be the night? Well, they finished 7th in the Bundesliga, so if they do lose this evening, they are secured a Conference League playoff round spot for next season if they don't win this evening. But if they do, they've only ever played in the UEFA Cup or the Europa League. It's the same competition, different names, of course, in the club's history. If they win, they will make their first ever appearance in the Champions League next season. Well, for Aston Villa, this is their first European final since 1982 when they won the Champions League, or the European Cup back then, against Bayern Munich. What a magical night that was for Aston Villa, and a night that will go down in history as certainly one of the best European nights in the competition's history. And they've got Unai Emery on their side, who's won this competition 4 times. That's a record for this competition. An incredible, a master at lifting this trophy. And he might just do it again. Well, Villa are currently 4th in the Premier League with just one game to go, of course, and have already secured Champions League football for next season. Even if they lose tonight, worst comes to worst, they will still be in Europe and in Champions League next season. Well, last season, in that Champions League campaign, their first since 1983, they reached the quarter-final stage. So Unai Emery, history and European pedigree runs through his veins, and he has delivered some amazing European games for Villa over the last few seasons. Could tonight be the peak of it all, and will they capture the magic of 1982? Aston Villa, through Peter Wythe back in 1982, scored the winning goal in the European Cup final against Bayern Munich to deliver a European Cup for Aston Villa. An incredible achievement, and certainly history on their side when it comes to that. But it's not all about that in terms of history coming into this one this evening. Well, there you have it. The first of 3 major European finals with English teams involved, and Aston Villa, who have tasted European glory before, want to relive the magic of 1982 and claim another European title. For Freiburg, history beckons. They have never won a major trophy, and a chance to make their first, the Europa League, in their first ever European final. Istanbul itself has been witness to a European classic back in 2005 when Liverpool, of course, came from 3-0 down to beat AC Milan in the Champions League final. Can another English side capture that magic and deliver a European trophy? Well, it's Freiburg against Aston Villa in the 2026 Europa League final. We'll have team news on the way next.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.
Welcome back to the 2026 Europa League Final from Istanbul. Time to get the team news. Starting with the designated home side, SC Freiburg. This evening, the German side looking to become European champions for the first time in their history. They start with Noah Atobolu in goal. A back four of Lucas Kubler, Matthias Ginter, Philipp Leinhardt, and of course Philip True in defence. A midfield two of Maximilian Eggestein and Nicholas Hoffler, with an attacking midfield three of Nicholas Beste, the captain Vincenzo Grifo. Through the middle goes Johan Manzambi, and leading the line Igor Mantanovic. On the bench, Müller, Hoth, Jung, Osterhage, Scheront, Oler, Iri, Philip, Gunther, Makengo, Rossenfelder, and Ugbus. Well, much more noticeable and known to us names in the Aston Villa team here, unchanged from their 4-2 victory over Liverpool at the weekend on Friday evening. Emi Martinez starts in goal, a back four of Matty Cash, Ezri Konza, Pau Torres, and Luca Digne. Victor Lindelof is a little further forward, but we expect that to interchange throughout the game, with Yuri Tielemans alongside him. Morgan Rogers in the 10, captain John McGinn on the right, and Emi Buendia off the left. And Ollie Watkins, who's had a right run of form in the last few games, he leads the Aston Villa line tonight. On the bench, Bizot, Wright, Mings, Elliott, Garcia, Abraham, Sancho, Louise, Matson, Onana, Bogard, and Bailey. Both sides hoping and praying that a trophy is what awaits them tonight. And certainly for their first ever meeting, it is one hell of a way to meet each other for the very first time in a European final. Our referee this evening, Francois Letessier from France. All French officials on the field. Our fourth official, Alejandro Hernandez from Spain. And our VAR, Jérôme Brissard. Let's hope that we hear very little from Jerome tonight and we can get the job done in 90 minutes. And what is set to be another incredible night in Europe. The 2026 Europa League Final. Kickoff is next. A very good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for this one tonight in Istanbul, in the Besiktas Stadium, in the capital of Turkey. A night, or certainly not the capital, the major city in Turkey, and a major city that has had major European final status before. And tonight, it is the Europa League that awaits one of these two teams, SC Freiburg or Aston Villa, to be crowned the first of 3 European champions this season. It could be an English hat-trick if it works out that way. There is a possibility that that happens. And Villa are the first of the trifecta to have a go at winning and getting European glory once again. They are one of the only 3 teams involved in European competition, English teams, that have won a European trophy before. Crystal Palace and Arsenal have never won their respective finals ever before. Very good evening. Thank everybody for joining us. Andy in the chat as always. Our resident Villa fan is watching on, and I'm sure very excited and probably really nervous for this one as well, and who can blame him. Emi Martinez kicking the ball long up the field, looking for Ollie Watkins, who I have said has had a very good run of form as of recently. Scored in each of his last 3 games for Aston Villa. 4 goals and 2 assists in those last 3, including a goal and an assist in the semi-final second leg against Nottingham Forest at Villa Park, and a brace in the game against Liverpool on Friday nights. So if there's a man you want on that pitch for Villa, it is Ollie Watkins. 5 Europa League goals this season. He wants to make more of that this evening. But of course, really, it's no surprise and not a shock to say I don't really know very much about SC Freiburg. I've learnt that this is their first final. They've never won a major trophy. We're learning all these things, but they're a side that have some great young talent. And we talk about that man, Yohan Manzambi, is certainly one to be expected to be going of European excitement as Morgan Rogers has a shot from the edge of the box there. Well saved by the goalkeeper, Atabolu. So you see, Aston Villa gets separation with Ollie Watkins and Morgan Rogers just charging forward. The ball's played in behind. Rogers does really well at carrying the ball to the edge of the box. It's one of his major strengths, is the fact that he is so dangerous in that area of the pitch. And he gets a very good shot off and a very good save by the Freiburg goalkeeper, Noah Atabolu. There's in behind again here, Villa. It's Ollie Watkins, and he just kind of rolled the ball into the hands of the Freiburg keeper. I think the flag was up anyway a little earlier in the moment. He was a good yard or 2 offside there. Pretty comfortable. Yeah, he did make the most of it, but he was offside nonetheless, so quickly rectified. As I was saying, Yohan Manzambi will be keenly watched by a lot of big European clubs. The 20-year-old Swiss international is certainly one of the top targets around Europe. He's got an assist in the 4-1 win over Leipzig in the final game of the season for Freiburg, and what was their send-off match to the Europa League final at the weekend. And he did score in the second leg of the semi-final against Sporting Braga in Freiburg. He scored the second goal of that night, and what was a glorious night, I'm sure, in Freiburg's history. And inside the Europa Park Stadium, Would have been a magical atmosphere. And the kind of thing is, though, sometimes the Europa League and Conference League are a little bit disrespected in the fact that everything's about the Champions League, but we've kind of had this trident of European quality with 3 different levels of the competition, of European competition over the last few years, and we've seen some teams that maybe we wouldn't watch every week or we wouldn't know much about, but we're getting a better rounded look at across Europe of every team that can pop up and produce something quite magical. And Freiburg, again, it's a night where they could make history for their football club in their local area. And you know, we talk about all the massive German clubs of Bayern Munich's and your Borussia Dortmunds and your Bayer Leverkusen's, etc., etc. But this type of competition, the Europa League and Europa Conference League, are maybe about those teams that maybe aren't at the top of their country's kind of the stats and always winning league titles. Maybe just that echelon a little below. And Aston Villa, I think, in recent years have fallen into that category of, we're not winning FA Cups or League Cups of the Cities and the Arsenals and the Liverpools and all of that, etc. But they've done so well under Unai Emery, they deserve some sort of trophy for it. And the Europa League and Conference League are perfect kind of routes to show on the European stage how actually a good team you actually are. And that's what I kind of like about the Europa League and Conference League, is the fact that they showcase teams that you wouldn't usually watch, but are still good football teams. And it's certainly matched it up a lot better over the last few years. Certainly the inclusion of the Conference League makes it more entertaining as Villa win the ball high up the pitch here. Watkins was in the mix again. It's scrambled away by Leinhardt, but I think the referee was giving a foul anyway. Philip True, the Freiburg left back, was given a yellow card a moment ago for a foul. But free kick goes Freiburg's way here in their own half. That's going to be a free kick. True. Leinhardt. Right to the left-hand side, flipped behind by Grifo, the Freiburg captain. Trying to get onto the end of the ball, Matanovic ended up clashing with Ezri Konsa. And that's going to be an Aston Villa free kick. Yeah, just kind of shoulder to shoulder there, but Matanovic was making no attempt to try and control the ball. He was facing away from where the ball was dropping, and he just kind of charged into Ezri Konsa. It is a free kick. %, Andy. It brings, I mean, financially it's fantastic. You know, for Freiburg, no disrespect, but Aston Villa don't need money, but it's helpful. It is certainly in a kitchen Champions League football, which is a major financial boost. But for Freiburg, they've never played in the Champions League in their history, or any relevant, relative kind of example of it in the European Cup. So they've never had that opportunity. And we've seen, and we've talked about a lot with English teams, about how important Champions League finances are to football clubs in the future and the growth. That Freiburg, this could be the moment where they kind of push themselves from maybe being a middle side in Germany to push them further up. It's just something that can come from an appearance in a European final, could completely change a team. And as we saw back in the 80s with Aston Villa, completely changed the kind of standing of that football club. You know, you win a European trophy, you massively increase your pedigree in world football. Aston Villa certainly did that back in 1982, and they want to relive that moment with Unai Emery 44 years later, and a man who's really the master, the maestro of the Europa League. Won it with Sevilla and Villarreal. I remember watching that final for Villarreal back in 2021 and against Man United, and what a magical night that was. Here is Luca Digne. A bit loose there from Yuri Tielemans, couldn't find Rodgers, but the pressure from Aston Villa on the goalkeeper, Atobolu, who had to take evasive action there. It's kind of sold down the river by his centre-back Ginter. And that's going to be an Aston Villa throw. Well, we know what Unai Emery's football is. High intensity, high press, kind of high back line. Everything to the max with Unai Emery's side. And Aston Villa are a team that never stopped working, never stopped fighting, never stopped running. Certainly been the best of the rest, if you want to call it that. The shot from range! Oh, that was travelling from Morgan Rogers. Just skipped wide of the right post, but I think it would have had Atubolu a little bit nervous for a couple of seconds. Beautiful little layoff by Lindelof. Rogers again in that pocket of space just around the edge of the box. Beautiful. Already showing some danger in this game, Morgan Rogers. And talked about Ollie Watkins, the 23-year-old Englishman, Morgan Rogers, surely on his way to the World Cup. You would suspect. Goal and an assist in the game against Liverpool at the weekend, and got an assist in the 4-0 win over Forest in the semi-finals. Has scored just 2 Europa League goals this season. One against Bologna and one against Salzburg back in the league phase, both coming at Villa Park. And I think all of his goal contributions so far in the competition have all come at Villa Park for Morgan Rogers. Yuri Tielemans is again challenged by Matanovic, who's certainly getting into the mix of things, the Freiburg centre forward, Igor Matanovic, young Croatian. He's had good form, 3 goals in his last 2 games, including a goal and an assist against Leipzig at the weekend. Villa with a free kick here. Tielemans down the left-hand channel. Buendia's delivery, it's deep. It's high and it's too high. Goal kick. Yeah, fired ball by Tielemans. He spotted Buendia on the run down the left, and Buendia trying to whip it deep to the back post, but just a little bit too much on it. That sees it sail over the top and behind for a goal kick. Well, certainly wherever you look in this Villa team, certainly, and there is danger, there is threat, there is options, and even on the bench, you know, which is great to see Onana on the bench, Amadou Onana. Tammy Abraham has had pedigree, especially in this stadium. Previously, of course, playing for Besiktas before joining Villa in January. Leon Bailey back in the on the Villa bench. Douglas Luiz, Harvey Elliott, even, who hasn't really got much of a look in this season since he went on loan from Liverpool to Villa. Lemar Bogard as well. So Villa getting back to full strength and right for this one. And lots of options off the bench if needs be. Here is Pau Torres. That's Emi Martinez. Good hold up there in the middle by Buendia. Laid off by Lindelof. Into McGinn's path, who swings it round the back. That's beautiful play from Villa. Ollie Watkins off the left here. He's got options in the middle. Watkins, back was wayward. Too far behind Rogers. And again, the build-up play was sensational from Villa. Just didn't have the final pass there from Ollie Watkins to find Morgan Rogers in the mix. Well, it is a noisy stadium, and so far a lot of the noise coming from the German fans, the Freiburg supporters. Well, this is of course the first meeting between the sides. Actually, Freiburg have faced 4 English teams, and all 4 of them in previous encounters against English opponents came against West Ham in the 23-24 Europa League season. They lost both of their group stage games and were defeated 5-1 on aggregate by the Hammers in the round of 16, and a 5-0 defeat in the game at the London Stadium after a 1-0 win in the first leg. Well, Villa's record against German opposition is quite positive. 4 wins and 2 losses, of course. I mean, Bayern Munich, historically, obviously, but they're looking their 3rd straight win against German opponents after beating Bayern Munich at home 1-0 last season and Leipzig away 3-2 in the league phase of the Champions League last season. Villa's only other knockout European final was also against a German club, as I said. They also faced Berliner Dynamo in the second round of the same competition, progressing on away goals after a 2-2 aggregate draw. in that one. You think of big European kind of adventures. Rotterdam and Istanbul sound like a perfect European adventure for Aston Villa. Rotterdam in 82 and Istanbul in 26. That would be surely the incentive. But Coutinho there pulling back on Manzambi. That's going to be a free kick. Very stop-start the first 14 minutes of this Europa League final. First dangerous moment for Freiburg, you feel here. Grifo is the one around it. Couldn't quite see the number of the other player, but this Grifo delivers, cleared away at the front post by Tielemans. It's going to be another free kick though. Emi Buendia pushing a man over. And he's going to get a yellow card there, Emi Buendia. Referee not happy with Buendia here. I can't see who the Freiburg player is, but he stayed down after that contact with Emi Buendia. Oh, it's just a clash. It's an outstretched arm from Buendia, and he's just trying to hold off the man. He gets a yellow card for yellow cards. As far as I think that should go, definitely. No doubt about it. Completely accidental, in my opinion, but the referee saw it as a yellow card offence, and it was Jan-Niklas Beste that was the man that was fouled. The German. Beste, who joined Freiburg in January of last year, in 2025, from Benfica, and spells at Heidenheim as well in Germany too, and Werder Bremen previously, and came through the Borussia Dortmund academy. Beste scored just one goal in the Europa League this season. He leaves it though for his captain, Vincenzo Grifo. Right-footed delivery into the area, headed down, body's queuing up, and the shot took a deflection, I think. That's going to be a great opportunity, but I think they've given a goal kick there, actually, the officials. Well, we saw they were queuing up, the red shirts on the edge of the box. Great ball in, it's headed away, it's half cleared, but I think Pau Torres gets his contact on it, and it drops to the edge of the box, and this is a great strike. Left-footed, just spins wide of the right post from the number 27 there, Höfler. Nicholas Höfler. What a chance from the edge of the box. There's another free kick given here. Tielemans brought down this time by Höfler. He's 36, a real veteran of this Freiburg team. This will be his last. After he will retire at the end of the year, he's Freiburg through and through, Nicholas Höfler. Spent the last 16 years coming through from the Freiburg youth team all those years ago in the late 2000s, and made his first team debut back in the 2010 season. Had a loan spell, but has been Freiburg ever since 2013, all the way for the last 13 seasons, and he is looking to end on a major high, and he could have given his side an opener there with that big chance from the set piece. Here's Matty Cash to Yuri Tielemans, who threaded that ball through, but a bit of confusion as to whether it was Watkins or Buendia was the target. Either way, neither of them got to it, and that's cleared away by Atabolu, and out for an Aston Villa throw. It's been heavily involved, the Freiburg goalkeeper before, Noah Atabolu. He's kept 5 clean sheets in the Europa League this season. Be Magic if he was able to keep a clean sheet in a European final. Give them a massive stepping stone and foundation to try and win the competition. Here is Lindelof. Still a bit deeper, allowing Cash to drift wide, which is kind of what we expected. Lindelof kind of measured up as being the extra midfielder alongside Yuri Tielemans, but we kind of expect a little bit that Lindelof will kind of drop towards right back a little bit, maybe make some sort of a back three, maybe a little further forward, allow Cash to go down the right flank. McGinn will come further inside alongside Tielemans to create the space in the middle, but it kind of looks like what's going to happen from Villa's point of view, but from the formation look, it does look a little more awkward than it will naturally be in possession. Just short of 20 minutes gone in the 2026 Europa League Final. Both sides have had opportunities so far. Freiburg's effort from Höfler skidded off target, and Morgan Rogers with one or two attempts for Aston Villa. Neither goalkeeper majorly tested on those fronts. That was nice takedown by Troy. And now Grifo trying to brick inside. He was caught there by Matty Cash, and that's going to be a yellow card. Well, Francois Letessier has pulled out the yellow cards. He's not afraid to pull out the yellows. It's the third yellow card already of the game, and the second for Aston Villa. This time, he gets the ball, Matty Cash, but it's the follow-through that's going to get him the booking, and it is completely correct from the referee. It's a yellow card all day long. Yeah, there's no doubt about that in my opinion. Yeah, you can't be doing that. He gets the ball, but he leads with the studs, and that's very dangerous. Has to be a yellow card at the very least. Unai Emery says he cleanly got the ball, and he did cleanly get the ball, Matty Cash, there's no question of that, but it's the follow-through that will get him the yellow card and the foul. And Vincenzo Grifo, the Freiburg captain, is currently receiving some treatment. Now this is the first ever meeting between Freiburg and Aston Villa. It's the first time a Europa League final will be competed between two teams meeting for the first time since 2019-20 season, when Sevilla won 3-2 against Internazionale Milano. Of course, Inter Milan to us. See this chance for Morgan Rogers again early in the game. It's a good save by Atobolu, but that's the danger that Morgan Rogers possesses in abundance. And wonderful effort so early in the game. It would have been a massive early boost for Villa. Well, good to see Vincenzo Grifo back on his feet after that collision. And Jans Niklas Besta is also alongside him to take this free kick again for Freiburg from the left-hand side. Oh, you'll be happy to know, by the way, I have a new chair, and it's coming tomorrow. So we'll be debuting that in the Championship Playoff Final on Saturday. Yeah, Jan Niklas Besta with the delivery deep to the back post. Just going to bounce away from the box as it's ushered by Luca Digne away from goal. He tries to pump it up the field for Villa to break away, but Freiburg back in numbers, confidently defending that situation. Well, you kind of feel the first goal, as always in a final, is huge. It's, you know, who breaks the duck, who breaks the deadlock, who gets in front, who sneaks that little advantage, and that's the difference. Here is John McGinn to Victor Lindelof. Goes across to Ezri Konsa. Yeah, they're kind of dropping into a back three, as you can see there, Aston Villa. Torres and Lindelof, the wide centre-backs, and through the middle, Ezri Konsa kind of dictating the play from a central position. So they have kind of dropped into a back three, but then when they go back to the goalkeeper, they move into a 4 again. So it's very fluid from Villa. Long ball forward by Emi Martinez. Watkins felt he was held there by Lionheart, but Referee let it roll and play on. Daniel says, do you think the quality of the Europa League has worsened with the new format? No dropouts from the Champions League, maybe the cause. I remember Freiburg only made the round of 16 2 years ago. Well, yeah, Freiburg, have the furthest they've ever reached before this season was the round of 16 in the competition. But they've had European history going back decades in this competition, back to the UEFA Cup. So it's not that they've been not involved in Europe over the years. They have been involved, they just haven't reached the final or got past the round of 16, which many teams haven't. But I think it just takes that magical run. I mean, we talk about Crystal Palace, for example. Crystal Palace have never been in a European final before, but it's their chance this season. I think, as I said a little earlier, I think it gives you the chance to go and see teams that maybe didn't have that opportunity before, when it was kind of top down in the Champions League, and then you finish third, you get to the Europa League, and you've still a chance to win a European trophy. I think it was a little bit of a scapegoat for teams that didn't do well early in the season in the Champions League, and then they got the chance to steal it in the Europa League. I think a little bit of a scapegoat. I think the Europa League should be that completely separate competition, and the Conference League too. Shouldn't be no interlinking. It ruins it, I think. And it gives chances to teams like a Freiburg, who can have the chance to go on those runs and not be met by a Barcelona or an Inter Milan or an AC Milan or someone of that quality who've had a poor season in the Champions League. I don't think that's fair, and I think the Europa League has its right. You qualify for that separately. Now, of course, in the qualification stage, if you get Champions League, certain teams can drop into the Europa League for qualification, but that's different. You have to have a certain number of teams to fill the competition. But I think they have to be separate, because I don't think it's worsened. I think if you're a fan of a top team, you maybe feel it's worsened in the fact that there's not that route that historically would have been there to drop into the Europa League. But that's gone, and I think rightfully so, because I think, as I said, it's a little bit of a scapegoat to top teams. And it made it a little bit kind of the same teams were winning the competition. I mean, Sevilla are still, in my opinion, the best team that I've ever played in Europa League because of what they've been able to do in this competition. And they really made it their own. They were the team that, they kind of put Europa League on the map in a sense when it was first kind of renamed. And I think they've done a magical job in this competition. But the point would still stand, in my opinion. I think it's right that it was changed, and as I said, it gives Freiburg a chance, or teams that don't usually get a look in Europe, an opportunity to have that chance. And I mean, we'll see it next Wednesday night with Rayo Vallecano and Crystal Palace, and we'll talk all about that for next week. But that's another chance for those two teams. In Leipzig next week, look at the rise of Crystal Palace over the last few seasons, in the FA Cup winners last season and into the Conference League, and the opportunity to go and win it. I did get the right one. It's just seemingly, I've been looking, and then today I had another look, and I thought, right, just you have to bite the bullet and get the chair. Whatever one you think is good, and I got the highest rated one. It's not the most expensive, because I don't have thousands of pounds to spend on chairs, but it's one that I'll be happy with, and I can't wait to get rid of this. It's doing my head in. But we'll be showing it off. We'll have a whole new video and everything for it on Saturday. Well, it's set a bit of a dead spot, the game, for the moment. Not been much attacking action in the last 5 minutes or so. Both sides have defended the other well. They're kind of matching each other at the minute, cancelling each other out, which makes it even more intriguing. Long ball down the left, and that one's seen out of play. Lindelof there was actually fouled in the process of trying to help defend that situation for Villa. And they says you can have an FA Cup dream in a way by winning one of these and getting into Champions League as the top prize, the FA Cup dream. Yeah, 100%. I think I agree with that point. It's the fact it's kind of like the European FA Cup, no disrespect, but it's kind of that kind of the tantalisation of, you can't get Champions League via your league position, you win this competition, albeit it's a a big job and it's a lot to do, but it's a route into the Champions League for next season. As I said, this would be magical for Freiburg because they've never been in the Champions League before. If they were to win a European trophy to get their first ever season in the Champions League, it would do massive. I think it's exactly what the reformatting of European competitions is all about. Cash, nice link up there with McGinn. Watkins back to Matty Cash, who's broke forward here into the box. Little Travella cross. Cleared away at the back post by the right back Kubler. And then a battle with Morgan Rogers. Last touch off the Englishman. That's going to be a goal kick, and Kubler there giving it to his fans in that end behind the goal. As we hit the half-hour mark inside the Besiktas Stadium in Istanbul in the 2026 Europa League Final. It's Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 0. Morgan Rogers with probably the best chance of the game for Villa. And Nicholas Hoffler with the best chance of the game for Freiburg. Daniel says, what do you think about this whole playoff final stuff? Hull, I feel, haven't got quite a good point about preparing for the wrong team, but they'll be fuming if they don't win it. Well, I think justice prevailed. I think there's no excuse for spying on opponents. And people will say, you know, what could they have gained from that? But that's not the point about gaining from it. It's the fact you're trying to look at ways to cheat the system and cheat your opponent and trying to get the one up on them. And I think Kim Hellberg, the Middlesbrough boss, put it well in his after the semi-final defeat, and he put it well, and he said, I spent hours away from my family and my friends and doing my own thing to prepare for this game, and it kind of feels like he's been cheated out, and I think that is completely fair from the way I see it. But again, for Southampton, you know, for their fans, they're completely innocent in all this, and they've got now a 4-point deduction to look forward to next season. And another season in Championship football after what could have been Premier League next season. It's massive for them. I'm really disappointing for them. But I think you have to throw the book at this type of stuff. And who the Southampton fans should be mad at, it's not the EFL. It should be the hierarchy at their football club. For whoever decided to do this, they should be held accountable. And that's what should be the problem here, not the EFL. And usually, you know, we've seen teams go against the kind of organisation before, but I think the EFL did the right thing, and it was an independent panel. They threw the book at them, and I think that's completely correct. But at the end of the day, you got to make the point that it's harsh on the Southampton fans. It's great for the Middlesbrough fans, but then Hull are in the mix of all this, so they knew they were in the final, but they didn't know who they were playing, and now they've probably had to prepare for two teams, really, because they didn't really know who they were going to play until yesterday. So maybe, but we'll wait and see on Saturday. Here come Freiburg. Well, Kubler was a little bit open there, cut out well by Emi Buendia, who got back in. And of course, the Championship playoff final, we will wait and see what the appeal from Southampton has to say. But if they're reinstated back into the final, which I don't expect, I think they will be still out of it, but it'll be 4:30 on Saturday. The shot from range here from Manzambi, straight down the throat of Emi Martinez. First shot on target there for Freiburg. That was a comfortable save, really, from Emi Martinez after Manzambi's shot from around about the edge of the D, just a little bit further out maybe, and just kind of dropped into the hands of Emi Martinez, who had that well under control. But as I was saying, if it's Hull Middlesbrough, it'll be 3:30 kick-off on Saturday. Here's Ollie Watkins, bricks into space, trying to work an angle to shoot. It's closed down as McGinn gets a battle in. And the last touch off Ollie Watkins, which infuriates John McGinn. furious was the Villa captain there, who of course is the first Scottish player to captain an English team in a European final since Graham Souness did it with Liverpool all those years ago. So great for Scotland, and great for John McGinn, and he's been an absolute stalwart to this Villa team this season. And of course, at the end of the week on Sunday, for our build-up to the Premier League final day, I'll be doing my team of the season, my player of the season, kind of the best 11 of the campaign in the Premier League. And I'll give you a little hint. There's definitely one or two Villa players in that mix. I think when we saw a lot of the best 11s of the season, I think Villa are a little bit undercut when it comes to the top prizes this season. The job they've done is fantastic, and we can't disregard that, in my opinion. As Victor Lindelof a little bit late there on Manzambi. He just kind of caught the standing leg of Manzambi as he tried to turn away from the Swede there in the middle. Manzambi stayed down for the moment. Last 10 minutes of the first half here in Istanbul. Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 0. Well, this is the 11th major European final between an English club and a German team, and the first since the 2012 Champions League final contested by Chelsea and Bayern Munich. English teams have won 8 of the previous 10, with the only German victories Borussia Dortmund versus Liverpool in the 65-66 Cup Winners' Cup, and Bayern Munich against Leeds in the 74-75 European Cup. Well, those Freiburg fans haven't stopped singing, waving flags. I mean, it's absolutely incredible, the travelling Freiburg support. Another free kick opportunity there for Vincenzo Grifo, the Freiburg skipper. Fizzed to the far right hand side, headed away by Aston Villa. That 1-2 between Emi Buendia and Ollie Watkins, as Rodgers trying to make a run in behind. Cut well away by the backtracking Freiburg players, but a bit of space here for Rodgers to pick up the ball now. Given to it by Buendia, returns the favour. Emi Buendia, now the shot! Dropped for Rodgers, he gets a shot off blocked, and it will bobble away from goal. Kept in play though by Digne, who strikes right through it and trying to cross and cleans it out of the field of play. Well, Villa had the threat in behind there. Great ball by Buendia, found Rodgers that got the move going. Rodgers again, such a great ball carrier, just patience, waits for Buendia to make his run, creates the angle, laid off. McGinn got involved in the mix too, and as it dropped for Rodgers, his shot was blocked a few yards away from him. But some threat there from Aston Villa in behind. Certainly dangerous on the breakaway. That's a ball playing out from the back here. Leinhardt darts one down the left channel. Matanovic in chase, but that's guided well back to his goalkeeper by Ezri Konsa. Daniel says, what's your thoughts on the relegation battle? I'm going to West Ham and I've never been to the game like it. Going to be so weird. Well, I think excuse me, I think, hold on a second, as that's dealt with there just about by Leinhardt. He was under a bit of pressure. That's a ball out. Ooh, not the best of kicks to clear. Taken down well by Matty Cash and swung into the box by McGinn. No one on the end of it for Villa. Starting to grow a little bit more in control, Villa now, all of a sudden. Besta does well to lay off here. That's Kubler. It's back to Ginter now. Well, I think you never know. I mean, Spurs' home form has been awful. Everton can't get European football, which is a massive point to make, because if Everton were chasing Europe, then they would have had more incentive. But Spurs' home form has not been great. Here's Manzambi across. That was dangerous, to say the very least. Fired across the 6-yard box there by Johan Manzambi. And Villa are a bit lucky that there was no red shirt on the end of that, because that was a fierce delivery. No one in there to snatch upon it. Eggestein and Matanovic were the two that were arriving, but they were just a yard or so away from the ball when it arrived in the area. But I think Spurs' home form doesn't kind of bode well for them. But I do think, I mean, West Ham need a bit of a miracle in the fact that they need to beat Leeds and hope that Everton beat Spurs. It's a lot that needs to happen. But if they do their job, I mean, they've done all they could, really, in the argument made. So if they beat Leeds, we'll wait and see what happens. But I think if Spurs have got the quality that if they desperately need any point, you know, it's not that they need a win, they need a point, just Spurs. I think if it comes down to that, I think Spurs will be able to do it and they will survive. But you never know, stranger things have happened. So we'll just have to wait and see. It all underway, 4 o'clock this Sunday, all 10 final games in the Premier League season here in LFS will be live from 3:45 for the build-up. Here's Rodgers, finding Buendia. He's got Digne on the overlap. Digne's cross, looking for Rodgers. Well defended by Kubler, out for the corner. Yeah, nice work from Digne there. Measured it well, Villa. Rodgers on to Buendia, and Digne this time on the overlap, just trying to measure it across to Morgan Rodgers. Nicely cut out there by Kubler, the right back. Frustration from Unai Emery, but decent move from Villa. And Digne to take this corner then. Short corner taken. Clipped into the box with the right foot. The shot! Oh, what a finish! Yuri Tielemans! He only scores magical goals, and that is one of his best. Such a clean connection, and what a goal for Aston Villa. Straight from the corner, swung in, clipped in, and Yuri Tielemans, free as a bird in the box, caught it sweetly and rocketed into the bottom corner. Fabulous goal. See this again, Tielemans just peels off round the back. I mean, he's in 10 yards of free space. Everybody's focused on the 6-yard box, and Tielemans pops up in the 18-yard area. Really, really sneaky. And caught it as sweet as you like. That's a gorgeous finish. Absolutely beautiful from Yuri Tielemans. Sweet as you like on the volley. It bounced up past Atobolu and into the back of the Freiburg nets. And Aston Villa break the deadlock in the 2026 Europa League Final. And it's Yuri Tielemans, who scored in big finals before. Big goals in big finals. And he's got another one for Aston Villa. And a huge one in this Europa League Final. Rodgers with the assist. And Yuri Tielemans with a cracking finish. His second Europa League goal of the campaign. His only second goal of the campaign in all competitions. His first came away in Basel back in December. Well, he scored in Istanbul in the 2026 Europa League Final. And Villa lead by a goal to nil. Huge. Huge. Well, that was class from Aston Villa, and I'm not one for kind of giving too much credit to set piece coaches. I think they're massively overlooked or kind of looked at too much when it comes to football now. But I think that was classic. They spotted something, Aston Villa, and they executed it perfectly. The short corner, the clip ball by Rodgers, the fainted run by Tielemans, the space was there. It was straight up the training ground, you have to feel. And that was a wonderfully executed move from Unai Emery's side. I remember a goal that Yuri Tielemans scored in the FA Cup final in 2021. Now that was absolutely out of this world. But the connection that he got on that finish is as sweet as that was. It was perfect. And that was a big, big moment shortly before half-time here in Istanbul. It's not always about what type of goal you score or even scoring the goal itself. It's maybe, more importantly, when you score is the more important factor. And scoring just before half-time is one of the perfect times because it completely changes the opposition's team talk. Manzambi, though, trying to rescue it here for Freiburg. Great delivery in the header. Seen behind by Matty Cash. Will be a Freiburg corner. Yeah, Manzambi with a great delivery, and it's on that left-hand side. It was, I think it was True. Matty Cash with the last touch on that, chested it out for a corner, but good header by Philip True. Will be a Freiburg corner. Their first of the game. Villa scored with the first corner of the game. Freiburg to respond. A short corner of their own. Grifo. Edge of the box. Clip round the back. Martinez got his hands to that one. 3 added minutes at the end of the first half. And Villa are on the move. On the counter-attack. Sillemans. Wide to Buendia. Driving forward. Flicks it across. McGinn. Wide, but it took a deflection. It will be another Villa corner. Yes, very, very fluid from Villa on the breakaway. Rodgers played it out to Buendia. Buendia played it in behind for McGinn. And McGinn's effort deflects behind for the corner. Crisp from Villa. An opportunity for Villa to maybe compound the end of this first half. Disappointment at the end of this first half for Freiburg. If they can do what they did on their last corner. Matty Cash going to deliver it this time. Flicked on, and another effort that didn't have much power on it really from, I don't know if that was Konza, but it's Ginter that heads it behind for another Villa corner. It's the fizz from the delivery by Matty Cash. It just bounces to the back post, and the effort just kind of clipped, slightly caught by the Villa man in there, and then as we see it again, it's flicked on, and it is Ezri Konza at the back post, and he just kind of clips it. Doesn't get much on it, and gets the back spin, which takes the power out of it. Doesn't let it travel too far, and allows Ginter to make the clearance. Corner delivered in, headed away to the edge of the box. Matty Cash able to retrieve. Spun wide to McGinn again on the right. Whips it in. That's cleared behind for another Aston Villa corner. This is their 4th corner of the game, all coming in the last 5 minutes. Villa certainly in the ascendancy before half-time. I think it's crucial that Freiburg stay just 1-0 down going into half-time. The last thing they would need at this point is to go 2 down and concede another before the break. It's crucial that they get in at just 1-0 down. John McGinn to deliver it once more. Narrowly across. Flicked on by a Villa head. It's dropped for Digne at the back post. Flag stays down for the moment. They wanted an offside flag there, Freiburg, but Villa able to recycle. Tielemans down the right to McGinn. Driving into the area. John McGinn clips it across. Back post. The header. Back across and cleared away by True. Well, that's all Aston Villa. And Freiburg will be pleased to hear the half-time whistle when it comes. We're delighted to hear the half-time whistle. McGinn finding Buendia, trying to curl one. Oh, wow! Emi Buendia. That is class. Top right corner. Top left corner. And into the net. What a finish by Buendia. 2-0 to Aston Villa. And both goals have been pure beauties in this final. And Emi Buendia with a cracker. Again, Villa have had all the pressure, but again, so much space for them to exploit. John McGinn plays an easy ball into Emi Buendia, edge of the box, and you see whenever he goes for that setup, you know what he's going for, and it has to be perfect, and it is perfect from Emi Buendia. Swing with the left boot, up, full stretch was Atubolu, who couldn't reach. top corner. Aston Villa 2 up in the final. And we're right on the verge of half-time. It is half-time. And what an end to the first half from Unai Emery's Aston Villa. 2 goals. And they are cruising in this Europa League final now. Right at the death of the first half from Emi Buendia. And Yuri Tielemans' goal was not half bad either. 2 goals for Villa at the end of the half. Incredible end to what was a pretty even first half. But Villa with the firepower to have them in front at the break. Half-time, it's Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 2. We'll analyse the first half in just a few minutes.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. Oh yeah, 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 oh yeah. Hey there, what you drinking? 2 shots, let's pour it up. I know what you're thinking, but tomorrow won't come for us. This life that we're living, ain't never gonna give it up. Double shot for the gifted, and one more for us. There you go, drink it up. All this love in a cup. Yeah, we go slow, we go fast. Yeah, we can't get enough. We stay all day, all night, living in paradise. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. This is the time of your life. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. Don't look at the past, no, we're not going that way. Oh, now make it last, make it last to the break of day. No matter what people say, live life in a fast lane. Double shot for the gifted, triple shot for the pain. There you go, drink it up, all this love in a cup. Yeah, we go slow, we go fast. Yeah, we can't get enough. We stay all day, all night, living in paradise. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. This is the time of your life. Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life. Remember, you don't get it.
Welcome back to the 2026 Europa League Final from Istanbul. Half-time, it is Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 2 in the game. 2 goals coming late in the first half for Aston Villa to give them a massive advantage at the break in of course, the Besiktas Stadium. But it wasn't all that way in the first half. I think both sides started the half pretty well. I think Morgan Rogers, with the first real opportunity of the half, got the game off and running within the first few minutes with a great opportunity. But I think that the 20-30 minutes in the middle of the half kind of was a little bit even. There was 1 or 2 half chances here and there, but there wasn't much to separate the two teams through the majority of that first half. And I think, again, in finals, they're very often quite even, but it comes down to who can produce the finishes and who can produce the magic. And at the minute, 2 magical moments from Aston Villa have them 2 up at the break, and Freiburg had their massive chance with Höfler, the man who's been at Freiburg for so many years. It would have been a great storyline if he had scored, but on the contrary, it's come from Aston Villa 2 great moments. And I think the first goal is a credit to their threat from set pieces. You know, we talk a lot about set pieces, and I think it's become a lot more involved and heavily involved in the game over the last few seasons, and how important that set pieces have been. And again, I genuinely think there's no way that Aston Villa have done this on a whim. I think this is definitely something they've spotted before the game about where the kind of the frailties of Freiburg are, certainly from set pieces. And I think they certainly noticed something from that. They took the corner short. Their first corner of the game, by the way, they took it short. And Morgan Rogers, hugging the touchdown on the left-hand side, he just fizzes it in right across the box. And Youri Tielemans, I mean, they're organising themselves, Villa, and Youri Tielemans is completely unmarked. No one is anywhere near him. He starts from about 25 yards out, and he just sneaks round the back, and there's no one within 10 yards of him. Even when he has his shot, there's no one anywhere near him. It's a clean finish, quality finish, but it's the tactics beforehand of no one spotted Youri Tielemans, and it's clearly, in my opinion, something that Aston Villa noticed of a frailty of Freiburg, of their lack of awareness in the edge of the box, picking up late runners. And again, it was beautifully executed. I mean, it means nothing. All that preparation means nothing if the finish isn't there, or if the delivery isn't there, or players aren't in the right positions. But they executed it to perfection, Aston Villa. And the finish from Youri Tielemans, we know he's got it in his locker. Absolutely sensational player, and has got a clean strike in him massively. And that one, perfectly hit, beautifully taken, on the volley. Fabulous, fabulous finish by Youri Tielemans. And that really started a period of Villa dominance at the end of the first half. I think once they got the lead, they didn't look back. They ended up having a lot of corners a lot of consecutive corners, shall I say. They ended up having 4 or 5 corners at the end of the first half after there hadn't been a corner before the 40th minute. So it was a very strong end of the first 45 for Aston Villa. And the second goal, again from Freiburg's point of view, they'll be very, very disappointed with the space they've given up from range, from the edge of the box again. But it's a straight ball down the right-hand side, down the channel to John McGinn. He squares it across to Emi Buendia around the edge of the box. And Buendia strides onto his left foot, curls it into the top corner. It's an incredible finish, a wonderful, wonderful finish. And I think that was probably what Villa deserved at that point, because they went 1-0 up and they got even better and pushed on and kept Freiburg in and didn't let them out. And I said, when just before Villa took their 4th corner, I think it was, McGinn delivered in and it was cleared away. It was before the second goal, and I said, Freiburg have to get in at half-time at 1-0. It would be awful for them if it was more than that, because of the pressure that Villa had put on them in the last few minutes of that half. A second goal is a massive killer to the confidence, because at 1-0 you can go in at half time and go, look, it's a poor goal, it's from a set piece, we can recover, we can get back into this game. But at 2-0 it makes it so much harder for Freiburg to get back into the game, and that's obvious, of course it is. But even psychologically, of the fact that, can we get back into this? We need to score 2 goals without reply to even get back into the tie, to kind of keep it alive, never mind try and win the game. So I think it's psychologically much more difficult. And I mean, that's the difference, I think, with Aston Villa. They've got an abundance of quality in the attacking areas. And I mean, Morgan Rogers setting up the opener, for Yuri Tielemans, a wonderful finish, and then Emi Buendia pulling out a bit of magical class from the edge of the box, and that's what they possess, Villa. And at half-time, 2 great moments, and it seems like Unai Emery's doing it again in this competition. He's looking to extend his own record, which he holds of winning this competition 4 times. He wants to make it 5, and Aston Villa are halfway to European glory once again, and for a trophy for the first time in 30 years. They haven't won a trophy since 1996, Aston Villa, and their last European trophy was 1982 in the European Cup final, and they are 45 minutes away at least from possibly winning the Europa League and doing it all over again. We have a big second half to come for you, but a quick look at what's coming up on LFS over the next few days and weeks. The 2026 Champions League Final. That shouldn't be that. It should be a different graphic. We'll change that. Bear with us. There we go. That's better. PSG against Arsenal in the 2026 Champions League Final. That's next Saturday, the 30th of May, and a 5 o'clock kickoff for that one. The 2 Europa League and Europa Conference League finals are 8 o'clock kickoffs. But the Champions League Finals are 5 o'clock kickoff, and that ends the domestic season, the European season, in, of course, the fabulous Champions League final between PSG and Arsenal next Saturday. And of course, as I already mentioned, the 2026 Championship playoff final to see who will be in the Premier League next season. Well, that is next week, or this week, sorry, Saturday at 3:30. The 4:30 was initially the kickoff time, but Hull against Middlesbrough 3:30 on Saturday to decide who will be in the Premier League next season. But before all that, it's a big second half to come in the 2026 Europa League Final. Villa 2 up at the break. It's a lot of work for Freiburg to do, and they've got 45 minutes to try and keep this alive. Second half on the way next.
Remember, you don't get it twice. The time of your life.
Welcome back to the 2026 Europa League Final here on LFS, as well as Champions League Final and the Championship Playoff Final. We have got the Premier League Final Day. That is this Sunday at 3:45. Kickoffs from all 10 match day 38 games in the Premier League kick off at the exact same time, 4 o'clock this Sunday, and as I said, live from 3:45 for all the build-up to what can happen, as of course the relegation battle and the battle for Europe all comes down to the final game of the season. And when all is said and done domestically and in Europe, well, we head to North America for the 2026 World Cup. Gets underway Thursday the 11th of June as co-host Mexico welcome South Africa as that gets the 2026 World Cup. The biggest ever World Cup, 48 teams, and it gets underway in just around about 3 weeks' time tomorrow. Looking forward to that one across North America. Second half in the Europa League Final on the way next. Welcome back, as we are ready for the second half here in Istanbul. Aston Villa 2 up, and we see the scenes of those Villa fans celebrating and watch parties around the country. And what a magical moment it could be. What a great night it could be for the history of the football club if they can win another European title and add to their European Cup success of 1982 and create another wonderful night in the continent for their fans 44 years on from that famous victory in the European Cup in Rotterdam in 1982. And you have to say the 2 goals they've scored are of the utmost quality. There's no doubt about that. The utmost quality. And Freiburg will be feeling massively, massively disappointed. But a big second half for them if they can conjure up some comeback. But it is a tall order for the Germans. But who knows? We've seen Istanbul's been witness to a second half comeback of the greatest in European finals before. So who's to say it won't happen or can't happen again? I'm certainly not going to be one of those that say it can happen. As Ginter, having a bit of defending to do here against Watkins, does well, and Kubler clears away. You kind of feel at the moment Aston Villa have got Freiburg exactly where they want them. Freiburg just need to find a way to have to get the next goal. There's no question about that. They have to get the next goal. And Aston Villa are in the ascendancy as that ball from the long throw is comfortably gathered by Noah Atubolu, who's already made a big save in this game, but 2 goals conceded for him, and I don't think there was much he could do from the second one. It was pure class. Pure class from Emi Buendia. And sometimes as a goalkeeper, I think the point stands that sometimes there just isn't anything you can do about just great quality players. Freiburg certainly putting their bodies on the line there, trying to get involved and giving away an early fight. Emi Buendia was brought down. Well, Emi Buendia, you think he'll get the headlines? The Argentinian, if Villa do win this final. It's his 11th goal of the season in all competitions, his 4th in the Europa League. That second goal for Aston Villa. His first goal away from Villa Park since the second match day of the season with Feyenoord, when he scored in a 2-0 Villa victory. They're in again here, Villa. Closed out. And trying to clear it away with True, who is brought down there by John McGinn, and that's going to be a free kick, which John McGinn will protest, but the referee Francois Letessier spotted a foul and is given a free kick. Yeah, maybe a slight bit late, but he got to the ball. But and again, similar to the earlier moments, it was the follow through possibly that kind of caught him out there. Well, he does have a bit of history in the fact that he was on loan at Bayer Leverkusen, Emi Buendia. Emi Martinez there under a bit of pressure. At the end of last season, the second half of last season, went on loan to Bayer Leverkusen, Emi Buendia. So it was not a stranger to German opposition. He actually played Freiburg for Leverkusen at the end of last season, Emi Buendia, and a 2-2 draw. That was the game that Freiburg were 2-0 up, and Leverkusen came back to draw 2-2 in that game under Xabi Alonso. And he did play in that game. Buendia, he didn't score or assist, but he certainly did play in the game, started that game, and he certainly scored a wonder against Freiburg tonight. Villa do well to win the ball back here with Ollie Watkins getting himself much more involved. He's breaking forward here. Trying to fire it across towards Rodgers, but that was blocked. He's been well dealt with at times, Ollie Watkins, tonight by the Freiburg players. Freiburg take a huge risk to try and play out. They've given it away again high up the pitch. Here is Buendia again trying to lob the keeper. Oh, that was audacious. And Altubolu was easily on to the end of it, but certainly an audacious one from Remy Buendia. I don't think he would have had that shot if he didn't score earlier and if Villa weren't 2-0 up. There's no way. Because his manager would have went absolutely through him if he did. Well, Freiburg are the 11th German club to reach the UEFA Cup or Europa League Final. That's a record in the competition. And one more than England, who have reached 10. 10 clubs have reached the Europa League Final. Switch ball here out to Manzambi. Down the left. Driving infield. Into trouble there did Grifo. Breakaway could be on here for Villa, but that's well cut out by Leinhardt. Well, Villa, quarter-finalists in the Champions League last season. They're involved in European competition for the third straight campaign. Of course, reached the semi-finals of the Conference League in the season before last. And they've won 2 European trophies before, the European Cup in '82, and of course the Super Cup in the same campaign, in the same year, shall I say. And this is their first participation in the Europa League proper this campaign, and as I said, the 10th different English club to reach a Europa League final are Aston Villa. But it's got to be the Unai Emery effect. I mean, it's been said tongue-in-cheek a little bit before, but it can't be. I mean, to win the Europa League with 3 different clubs for on 5 different occasions, I mean, that would be absolutely sensational from Unai Emery. Already the maestro and the master of this competition, but it's only going to extend and continue to add to that argument that I don't think anybody's arguing against right now. Freiburg have started to commit themselves in more attacking situations. Manzambi, they've got the quality to find a way back here in moments. That's a good ball in, but too close to Emi Martinez. That delivery in there from Ginter didn't have the ultimate outcome. Lovely work from Pau Torres. Goes all the way back to Yuri Tielemans. Scored the opener. Plays a direct ball through to Rodgers, who evades the pressure and the challenge, and then was brought down, but that's going to be a free kick to Aston Villa. He does well here to evade the pressure of Ginter initially, and then I think it was the challenge, ultimately, the second challenge that took him down from Höfler that has given Aston Villa the free kick. Good 40 yards out this. Tielemans lifts it into the area. Run late in a toe-poked effort that goes wide from, I believe that was Rodgers. Another idea from a set piece from Villa that might have caught Freiburg out. The German side need a slice of luck right now. Can they find a goal back? Villa only had 1 shot on target to this point out of 3 attempts. Villa have had 12 attempts, 4 on target, so certainly used the most of that pressure they had in the end of the first half to really pile on the attack and threat. Kubler trying to deliver. Cleared away. And win the throw in here, Freiburg. Daniel says, I think it's crazy how dominant English teams are across Europe. Just crazy how many teams qualify and then progress. Yeah, well, it shows the strength of the Premier League. I think there's been a massive disparity in the fact that the argument of, has the Premier League been worse or better this season? I genuinely think overall it's been better, because anybody can beat anybody. Bar maybe one or two teams. Chance here for Freiburg in the mix. Caused a bit of chaos from that long throw, but Villa were eventually able to clear it. Bar one or two, after one or two dangerous moments and some scares. Well, the point still stands. I think the Premier League as a whole this season has been more competitive, and therefore pretty understood the fact that there's three Premier League teams in three different European finals, and all at various levels of the league. One's just won the Premier League, one's in fourth, and one's in the bottom half of the table. Shows that the strength right across the Premier League, that those three teams are in European finals. Linehardt. True. Pushed back by Matty Cash as it's back to Linehardt. In the Freiburg defence. Ginter. Linehardt. Villa 4-4-2 out of possession. Solid two banks of four. Hard to break down and hard to find a way through. For the moment, that's what's happening. Freiburg with a lot of the ball here. Mostly with their centre-backs trying to find any sort of little gaps or movement in behind to create the space against Villa. Manzambi. Fire it out wide again, though, to Kubler, who's forced backwards. They're certainly not having many attacking opportunities here. Best state again has to come back in field. Best state. There's not many options on here at the minute. Got to change the game a little bit here, Freiburg. Got to try something different. At the minute, not quite working as Manzambi tries to squeeze it through. I think they need to get Manzambi on the ball a lot more. I think when he was getting on the ball early in the first half, they were looking dangerous, Freiburg. But he's just kind of, not to a fault of his own, they've kind of just marked him out of the game a little bit, Villa, since. And struggling to get on the ball, struggling to make an impact. And I think if Freiburg are to find a way back into this, they need to get Johan Manzambi on the ball. We've seen very little of Matanovic, although both centre forwards have been a little bit isolated at times in this game. Here's Yuri Tielemans. Played out to the left hand side. Dean on the overlap. Rolls it on for Emi Buendia. Buendia into the box. Lays it across, and the toe poke into the back of the nets from Morgan Rogers. Pops up on the edge of the box and rolls it in for 3-0. Rogers set up the first, he's finished the third, and surely Aston Villa are on their way to a Europa League victory in the final. It's come in a moment of real limbo in the game. And Villa with a break down the left-hand side. Luca Digne making the angle wide. Carries it forward to Emi Buendia. Makes that run. Waiting and waiting. And then just prods it into an area, into the 6-yard box. Sliding, reaching, stretching for it was Morgan Rogers, who poked it in with his right boot. Past the goalkeeper. 3-0 Aston Villa. And surely game, set and match here in Istanbul. Wonderful. Well, it's all really on three players tonight for Villa. Rogers set up Tielemans. Then Buendia found the second, and it's Buendia who scored the second. setting up the man for the third who set up the first. That is really complicated, but what to say is that Morgan Rogers has massively played his part tonight. A goal and an assist for him. And he is playing a massive, massive part in this final. And if there's ever an audition to get into the starting 11 for the England team in the World Cup, it's surely this game. We talk about high pressure moments, high pressure games. The best always find a way to produce. And Morgan Rogers is no doubt one of the best. And one of the best talents in the Premier League and probably across Europe. Because producing in a final, a goal and an assist, fantastic. And it's only short of the hour mark. Still got another 30 minutes of this game to go. Here's Manzambi picking up in a pocket. Lays it off here to Eggestein. Wide to Besta. Kubler, deep delivery. Header on. And that's over the top by Matanovic. I think if he'd have left that, Manzambi was making a run in behind as well to have a header, but Matanovic was offside anyway. Well, 60 minutes gone. Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 3. And they need a change of approach from Julian Schuster, the Freiburg coach. He's going to bring on 2 subs here. Going to see Lucas Holler and Maximilian Rosenfelder. And Lienhart and Höfler have been replaced. So Rosenfelder for Lienhart and Höhler for Höfler. A double Freiburg change to try and, one, stop the rot, stop them from conceding any more, and maybe just make this a little bit more respectable for the German side in the final 30 minutes. I think I said it, they needed the next goal. They were getting into a period where they wrestled the game back to a bit of they'd managed the game back to kind of a level playing field in terms of the way the game was going in the second half, but Villa killer on the break, and they added that third goal that's surely taken it well past the Germans now. But you never know, but they're going to need another. There's going to need to be another Istanbul miracle if anyone other than Aston Villa will win the Europa League now. That's what you kind of feel at this point. The argument and the phrase, the catchphrase, lightning doesn't strike twice. But I think Aston Villa have been a credit to themselves tonight. Really, really strong. Yes, they would have been the favourites coming into this. Yes, they would have been pipped as the ones to really, if they didn't win this, it would be a real shock. But Freiburg are dangerous. Manzambi with the long throw with a flick on there by Höhler. That was cleared away by Aston Villa. And Watkins further clearing it from the edge of the box into the Freiburg half. But, you know, Freiburg tonight have just been outclassed in the attacking areas. I mean, Aston Villa have produced some great moments in the final third, and that's the difference in finals. And there you see those Villa fans who, they won't mind me saying, they've been outnumbered here in Istanbul by the many of Freiburg persuasion that have travelled, and for quite a lot of the game before they scored their opener, Aston Villa, it was Freiburg fans that were making the most noise, but it is certainly the travelling Brummies in Istanbul that are the loudest inside the Besiktas Stadium right now. Long through down the line from Luca Digne, cut out well and brought down by Höhler. Combination play in the middle here as Eggestein keeps a hold of the ball, trying to carry Freiburg forward, but that's cut out by John McGinn. He plays it back to Lucadinha. Well, it's about just managing the game now for Aston Villa. Ooh, a little bit loose there. As Istanbul had to come out and rescue his team. After that pass back to the Freiburg keeper was less than confident. Well, the top two scorers in the competition meet in this final. Aston Villa, who before this game had scored 28 goals in the Europa League this season. Freiburg with 25 scored. Villa have surpassed 30 with the 3 goals they've scored tonight. And they've conceded the second fewest goals in the competition this season. Just 8 goals they've conceded across the season. Only Victoria Pilsen have conceded less. They conceded just 6, but of course they were knocked out in the playoff round, or as known as the round of 32, all the way back in February. So relative to their position in the competition, Villa are arguably the best defensive side. And they have looked at strength tonight as Amadou Onana is on to the fields and has replaced Victor Lindelof. I knew that was coming. Welcome return for Amadou Onana after a bitty season, really. A lot of injuries, and he's picked up 2 injuries in the last few. His last appearance for Aston Villa before this was in the 1-0 defeat to Forest in the first leg of the semi-final. And at that point, when he went off in that game injured, it wasn't a great moment for Aston Villa. But how they've turned it around. A 4-0 victory at Villa Park in the second leg of the semi-final, and now 3-0 up in the final with 25 minutes to go. Onana, who's played 11 games in the Europa League before this season, hasn't scored or assisted in his previous 759 minutes he's played in the competition. That's not usually his role. This is his role, and he's won a free kick here for Aston Villa off Kubler. Tielemans will take this free kick. Well, it was minute 67 when Villa scored in the European Cup final in 1982 to win it. Well, they're in minute 67 here in Istanbul, and they're just a quarter of a game away from another European title. Heading back to Birmingham. Left-footed delivery from the cross. Too close to Atubolu, who was able to gather for Freiburg. Well, Villa, if they go on to win the Europa League and end up finishing 5th in the Premier League, then 6 teams will be in the Champions League from the Premier League next season. 6 English teams, of course. 4 have already confirmed their places. Hold on a second, here come Villa again. It's Ollie Watkins in behind this time. He wants to add himself to the score sheet. Cut out well by Ginter, who got across to put it behind for the corner. Ollie Watkins making danger in behind, and he's won Villa another corner. This will be their 5th corner of the game, their first of the second half. It's Ollie Watkins just showed a little bit too much to Ginter. He snuck a right foot in to clear it behind for the corner. John McGinn to take this corner. Swung in with the left foot. Headed to the back post by Onana. Hit the post. Drops to Luca Digne. Not done yet. Aston Villa. Rodgers. Flick on by Onana. Rodgers wins the corner. Well, Amadou Onana, it's not a coincidence that I mentioned that he hadn't scored or assisted in the competition this season. Well, he almost had his first in the final. Well, that header at the back post from the corner from John McGinn. Let's see it again. He sneaks around the back and gets up and above his man. Heads it right onto that left-hand post. Emi Buendia to deliver this corner. Goes short. Little 1-2. Buendia again to the edge of the box. It's Matty Cash having a go. High and wide from the pole. "20 minutes to go in Istanbul, and Freiburg going to make another change in a moment." Well, they've nothing to lose now, Freiburg. Well, "I'm Villa till I die" is a song of choice for the travelling Aston Villa support here in Istanbul. A passionate support for the football club that is going to be repaid by this Villa team. Unai Emery delivering Villa's best spell, Villa's best years in recent history since he joined the club. Huller, Manzambi, left-footed delivery deep to the back post, taken down by Grifo. Cuts it back, right-footed delivery deep into the box. Emi Martinez on the end of it, as he has been for nearly all of the Freiburg crosses. As he tries to go direct to Ollie Watkins, who felt he was fouled there by Kubler, I think it was, maybe. He didn't want a foul there, but referee saw no issue. Here is Ginter. Waiting to make those changes, Freiburg. Double sub incoming as they will get a free kick here. The hold on Beste by Digne. That's going to be the opportunity now, I think, for Freiburg to make these changes. And we're going to see Derry Sherrant replacing Grifo. And Kubler is also going to come off, and Makengo is going to be coming on. So Derry Sherrant is on for Vincenzo Grifo, and Jordi Makengo is coming on to replace the fullback Lucas Kubler. So Freiburg free kick here. Jan Nicholas Beste to take it. Left-footed, swung deep round the back. Martinez got there, he missed it. And then the follow-up is into the hands of the Argentinian goalkeeper. Got a little bit lucky there, Emi Martinez. He was in the right place at the right time from the rebounded shot. Beautiful one-touch football from Aston Villa. Onana. Cash. Back to Ezri Konza. Across to Pau Torres. He will go more direct, looking for Ollie Watkins. That one's a little high for the Villa centre forward. Well, going into the final day of last season, Aston Villa knew they needed to get something at Old Trafford to get Champions League football. They ended up losing that game, and it was Europa League. But maybe it was a blessing in disguise that mad moment at Old Trafford in the final game of the Premier League season last season. Delivered Europa League qualification for Villa instead of Champions League, because they're now 16 minutes away from going all the way in the Europa League and winning it in Istanbul. Onana. Emi Martinez. Tielemans back to his goalkeeper. Villa brimming with confidence. Pau Torres plays a lovely ball into Tielemans' path. They are cutting through Freiburg with ease here now, Villa, and John McGinn escapes the challenge of Ginter. McGinn into the box, cuts onto his right foot, lays it back, rolled through. Emi Buendia to walk it into the nets. Oh no, he's put it wide. He tried to walk it in, and he's missed the target. Well, they were trying to walk it in, and Emi Buendia missed his kick. Well, that's probably the most shocking moment of the night, that wasn't 4-0. I mean, it's beautiful, but gorgeous football from Aston Villa. And you think it's going to nestle in. He tries to sneak it in the near post past Atubolu. And for a split second you think it's hit the back of the net, but it's hit the side netting. And he slides onto his knees in disbelief, Emi Buendia. He could have had a brace in a European final. Well, the build-up play, I mean the approach play from Aston Villa tonight has been absolutely sensational. One touch, intricate stuff. Probably played their best football recently. The last few weeks, back to their best and at the perfect point in the season. As we see a replay of all the goals. Tielemans' clean strike, Buendia's top-class curler, and then the toe poke from Rodgers. Three of the best. And Unai Emery. He's never usually animated, Unai Emery. And look at the future King of England. His Royal Highness Prince of Wales. Of course, he's never hit it. Prince William, that he is a massive fan of Aston Villa. And he might be sneaking some names onto the list for Villa. And Unai Emery might be a sir, who knows? That might happen. I'm getting ahead of myself. Massively. But they have royal support, do Villa, and it's been a night of a pure royal-like performance in the attacking third. Ollie Watkins with fabulous hold-up play there, forces the late challenge off Jan Nicolas Besta and wins another Villa corner. They know it's only a matter of time. Every time they look at the clock, it's surely not close enough to finishing just yet. But last night we saw a 22-year wait come to an end with Arsenal winning the title. 44 years is how long it's been since Villa won in Europe. And it's been 30 years since they won a trophy of any kind. Matty Cash to take the corner. Right footed delivery. Flicked on at the near post. It's going to swing round the back. The shot from McGinn. Saved by Asubolu. And he set one up. John McGinn. He would be perfect if he found the net tonight. And he wasn't too far away there. Scored 5 Europa League goals this season, John McGinn. And has a goal or an assist in each of his last 4 Villa appearances, including 2 goals he scored in the semi-final second leg against Nottingham Forest. A reminder for you, this is one of 3 European finals that we'll have to conclude the season here in LFS. Next Wednesday night, it's the chance for Crystal Palace and Rayo Vallecano to add their names to European history in the Conference League final in Leipzig. And then we conclude the trio of European finals with the main event, the 2026 Champions League final, as PSG face Arsenal in Budapest. PSG looking to go back-to-back, Arsenal looking to do what PSG did last year and win the competition for the first time, as we wait for Budapest to come in just 10 days' time. Just over 10 minutes to go. Freiburg 0, Aston Villa 3, and since the first Aston Villa goal went in 41 minutes, they have not looked back. And Freiburg have been barely in the game, barely laid a glove on Aston Villa since. It has been complete Aston Villa control since they opened the scoring. As Morgan Rogers was fouled inside the centre circle, that's going to be a free kick. And Daniel's just given us an update of some breaking news. We told you about that appeal from the Championship. Southampton were appealing the decision of yesterday being excluded from the playoffs and given a 4-point deduction. Well, it's just breaking. Southampton's appeal against being thrown out of the Championship playoff final for spying has been rejected. The match will now go ahead on Saturday between Hull and Middlesbrough, a 3:30 kick-off with a place in the Premier League on the line. So the Commission yesterday, of course, expelling Southampton from the playoffs and reinstating Middlesbrough, and that has been kind of rectified and kept, shall I say, by the appeal. No changes to the official outcome. Right, Villa making some alterations. I just missed the subs, so I'll tell you about them in a second. And I know Jadon Sancho's definitely on the field, and I can see Ian Maatsen is too because he's on the ball. Amadou Onana back to Yuri Tielemans. Now Ezri Konsa. Buendia. Sorry, Ollie Watkins, apologies. Closed out there by Makengo. Seen out for the Aston Villa throw. Flicked by Watkins, cleared away by Ginter. Muller tried to hold it up, as did Manzambi, and that's going to be a free kick to Freiburg, deep in their own half, to Amadou Onana. So Ian Maatsen and Jadon Sancho come on for Villa, replacing Luca Digne and Emi Buendia. The man who scored the absolute perler for the second for Villa, which in my opinion is the best goal of the night. I mean, I think Yuri Tielemans is certainly technically the best in terms of the technique, but the finish from Emi Buendia, I mean, when you find the top corner, it's always going to be highlighted as certainly one of the best goals of a game. And Emi Buendia's, I think, will just pip Morgan Rogers and Yuri Tielemans to the post there. And I think I think there's a real competition for player of the match, because Emi Buendia has scored and assisted, as has Morgan Rogers. Yuri Tielemans has scored a great goal too, and John McGinn's had an unbelievable game. So there's 4 straight candidates for possible player of the match here for Aston Villa. But I think for me, I would probably... it's hard. It's difficult. I want to give it to Morgan Rogers, but then I feel that Emi Buendia scored and assisted, and the great goal, as I just said, is the best of the game. Probably deserves to be player of the match, but we'll find out who gets it officially anyway. As Freiburg have a free kick here. McGinn's given a yellow card for the foul. Wouldn't be John McGinn in a European game without getting a yellow card, surely. Fantastic. Free kick to Freiburg. We're going to see Sherhant and Beste over this one. It's Sherhant with the right-footed delivery. Round the back, the header by Manzambi. What a save by Martinez. I think the flag was up anyway, but Great header, great save. From very close range from Emi Martinez. See it here, yeah, Manzambi just straight offside. Sherhant with a good delivery. Manzambi got up and won the header, but was offside, and Emi Martinez with a very, very good save. Quality save. Andy says, Buendia missed that sitter. Well, yeah, fair enough. He could have had 2 goals in the final, but I think yeah, we'll see who gets it. I mean, there's no shortage of candidates. I mean, it would be harsh on the defensive Villa as well, because they've been excellent defensively, but they've had very little to do, really, since the opening Villa goal. So it's more the fact they've been hard done by than the fact they haven't really done much, because they've had not much to do. It's been the attackers that have run the show for Villa tonight. That's exactly the way you want it in a final. As Freiburg ready another change in a moment. Last 5 minutes of the 90 then. As Nicholas Besta is going to be replaced by Christian Günther. That's going to be the 5 substitutes for Freiburg. Villa ready, some more alterations in a moment as well. So Matty Cash to take this throw in for Villa. Flicked into the area, finding Rodgers. Going to eke out the cross, blocked behind for the corner. Do you know what? I'm going to give it to Morgan Rodgers. I think player of the match goes to Morgan Rodgers because he's class, isn't he? He's absolutely class. I mean, he's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So corner for Villa. John McGinn to take. Right hand side. McGinn lifting it high. Right to the back post. Maatsen trying to take control. Does keep it in play, but loses the possession. Freiburg trying to break, and that's well cut out by Rodgers, doing his defensive work as well. And then pushed over was Esri Konza, I think that was, who was retreating, and he's won the free kick for Aston Villa. And Sherhant got a little bit frustrated, pushing Esri Konza there. Yeah, did really well there, Esri Konza. Douglas Luiz and Tyrone Mings are going to be coming on, and Yuri Tielemans and Pau Torres are coming off. Yuri Tielemans, who started the scoring all the way back in that first half. It seems like a lifetime ago that happened, but he is off the field now. Well, Aston Villa are about to join a very exclusive list of teams from England that have won this competition. They're going to be the first team to win it as for the first time since 2024, when Atalanta won it for the first time. Villarreal won it for their first time in 2021 under Unai Emery. So they will join Ipswich, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool and Spurs and become the 6th English team to win this competition. And will become the 3rd team to have only won this competition once. Not that the other 3 have won it more than once, but certainly no worries. And the 11th winner, 11th team to win it in England in terms of 11 wins cumulatively for the country. Only Spanish sides have won the competition more, 14 different final wins. And they will be back to back in terms of English teams winning this competition. Spurs won it last year, and Villa are going to win it this year. And they will become the third English team to win the competition since 2019. Chelsea won it against Arsenal in an all-English final in Baku in 2019. Spurs winning it in an all-English final against Man United last year. And Villa will add their name to that list as we surpass 90 minutes. And now there will be, how long's added on? We'll find out. I'd say keep it to a minimum. 1 added minute. Well, I said keep it to a minimum. That much of a minimum. I mean, fair enough. They don't think there's a need to go on too long. You have to respect that, really, to be fair. Well, they're nearly there. And deservedly going to win it, Villa. They've been excellent. Oh, they're in for another. Just snuck away in the end there. I think the flag was up anyway. Well, they're waiting. There it is! 44 years in waiting. Aston Villa have written their name again into European history. Unai Emery, for a record-extending fifth time, has won the Europa League. Aston Villa become the 6th English team to win this competition, their 2nd European title, and their first trophy in 30 years since winning the League Cup in 1996 was their last. They had royal support, and they had the history of Unai Emery in this competition. They were the favourites, and outstanding they were in the final, and deserved winners after all is said and done. 3-0 winners in the final, and the goals certainly laid bare the quality this Villa team have in abundance. Freed from Desire is the song that leads Villa to success. Well, they've been freed of the shackles of the last 3 decades, going trophyless. This Villa team are their best in recent years, and they've put on a show in the showpiece final of the Europa League. This team have done some incredible things this season, and Unai Emery has led this charge. 3 years ago when he took over, they were battling against relegation in the Premier League. Well, what a turnaround it has been. They have gone all the way to the Europa League final and won it. I said earlier in the game, was missing out on Champions League qualification on the final day last season, a blessing in disguise for Aston Villa. Heartbroken they were on the final day to lose out to Champions League, but they came into this competition knowing the man that leads them has a special love affair with this competition, and he has done it for a 5th time in his career, with a 3rd different club winning the Europa League, and a unique little stat that brings with it. Sevilla, Villarreal and Aston Villa. Well, what an incredible job Unai Emery's done, and what a job these players have done. They've returned to their best form in the last few weeks at the perfect time of the season, and they have delivered a European title. I said, could they relive the magic of '82 that many modern Villa fans would never have seen, and only have seen the highlights and the clips from 44 years ago. Well, they're back at Europe's top table, and they have deservedly won this final. You've got to give credit to Freiburg. I mean, they've been incredible this season in the competition, but just in the final, they were beaten by the better side on the night, and that's what it comes down to. 3 goals of magic from Aston Villa. The first from Tielemans, the second from Buendia, and the third from Rodgers, as their name engraved in this trophy for the very first time, and for the second time in their history. They have European success. Well, it was too many coincidences, too many similarities to 82 to be a coincidence. They played in white as the designated away team against the German opponent, and they won with a clean sheet. They have re-inspired and reimagined the European Cup triumph in 1982 and done it in the Europa League in 2026. It was Rotterdam 44 years ago. It's a magical night in Istanbul in 2026. Aston Villa are the 2026 Europa League winners. And there you go. I mean, incredible. And they will celebrate long into the night. Well, it's been a great few days for crowning champions. And Aston Villa, incredible tonight. They were excellent. And I think, we said it. I said it at half-time, and from the first 40 minutes there was little between them. But the set piece that broke the game apart, that got the game going for Villa, and they didn't look back ever since from 41 minutes. And what an end of the season for Aston Villa. And this is the first of 3 European finals which will feature an English team. Can they complete the trifecta? And we will see. 1 down, 2 to go. And it's Crystal Palace up next. Well, let's bring you up to date with what's to come on LFS over the next few weeks. There's lots to bring you up to date with. We'll start with the main one. The 2026 Champions League final is next Saturday, the 30th of May, 5 o'clock kickoff UK time, as PSG take on Arsenal. PSG looking to make it a back-to-back European Cup success, but Arsenal looking to put their name on the trophy for the very first time as they take on the reigning European champions in Budapest in 10 days' time. Confirmation that it is Hull against Middlesbrough in the 2026 Championship playoff final. That's on Saturday at 3:30. The kickoff time has been slightly changed because of the opponent change, so it will be at Wembley and it will be on Saturday. Hull against Middlesbrough for a place in the Premier League. Speaking of the Premier League, we have one final round of fixtures to come this Sunday. 4 o'clock kickoff. All 20 teams in action at the same time. We're live from 3:45 to build up to it all, to see who will get those remaining European spaces. And if Aston Villa finish 5th now, having been crowned Europa League champions, if they finish 5th, then 6th place will get Champions League football in the Premier League. We'll talk all about that on Sunday. And when all is said and done domestically and in club football, well, let's turn to the internationals. The 2026 FIFA World Cup gets underway in 22 days' time in Mexico, as the co-hosts Mexico take on South Africa Thursday, the 11th of June, for the World Cup opener. As well as that, the Europa Conference League final to come in a week's time. So lots to look forward to. But on the night in Istanbul, 30 years in waiting for Aston Villa to lift a trophy. 44 years since they won the European Cup in Rotterdam. A magical night in Istanbul, delivered by Tielemans, Buendia and Rodgers. Villa are the 2026 Europa League winners. Thanks for your company. Night night. Sure, one last kick. This is going to be it. This is the moment. Vicario kicks this. And Liverpool are there. Liverpool are Premier League champions. And there it comes. Crystal Palace, for the very first time in their history, are FA Cup winners. Oh, he's found the net. Oh, what a goal. Kvaratskhelia is through. Wants to add a 4th. and does so. Ahmad, oh my goodness me! That is absolutely unbelievable. Rice again. Oh! You thought he couldn't beat the first one. He's gone and bettered it. Another whip ball in. The header is in by Virgil van Dijk. Incredible.